Hey guys, welcome to another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. On this episode, I have another mix of games, some trades, some finds, a couple stores, and I actually went back to a couple stores that was in a past episode of PlayStation Pursuit, so glad to talk about those as well. A pretty decent mix, nothing too high-end, but mix of commons and some other solid additions for the collection. A menagerie, if you will. So stick around and I will show you what I got this week. Okay, so the first game I got is a just common, cheap title that I got at a local store, Gizmos Video Games and Wrestling, that's in Syracuse, and it's called Jigsaw Madness. So, just a jigsaw puzzle game. Probably was a budget game when it came out, but it's in good shape, and I didn't have it, so glad to add that one to the collection. And then the next stack of games I have is actually from my buddy Chris Lake. He gave me some really good games, as you've seen in past episodes, that he got in that lot of PS1 games. And little by little, there's a couple other games that I didn't have from that lot that I've been getting from him from time to time. So this is from that stack. Oh, and my lights are flickering. Who knows what's going on electrical-wise in my house. Probably another issue I'm going to have to deal with, because if it's not the roof, if it's not something else, it's one thing after another, but that's life. So anyway, these are all games that I really was looking forward to getting from his stack that weren't like the high-end ones that he gave me dibs on first. So basically what I did is there were some games he was looking at. He gave me some cash, but also I gave him some trade value on this. So the first game is really cool. Twisted Metal Small Brawl. And what's cool about this Twisted Metal is that instead of being the dark, twisted nature of the Twisted Metal series, you play as kids playing with remote control cars. So Calypso, instead of being the guy who heads up the whole Twisted Metal battle, is the neighborhood bully, and he's created a little contest of remote control cars. And it's just really cool. And I've mentioned before, I think a couple other episodes, how I like games where you're small in like an oversized real world. So whether you're a toy or you're moving around as a mouse or something like that, I love games that put you in a enlarged world. Really cool. So this game definitely has caught my eye, and glad to have that one for the collection. The next one is a platformer that's apparently kind of weird. My friend April and my friend Adam, they played it, and they were saying that it was kind of an odd one, but kind of cool. And it's, I think it might have been a budget title when it came out. It's called Fix the Adventure. And in good shape. Just got some sticker residue I gotta clean off. Oh, yep, there's more budget games, so that's definitely what it came from, the budget series. Now this game, I don't know if it's supposed to be any good. I think I remember it getting kind of bad reviews back in the day. But I remember they always said the graphics were good and everything. Plus, it's just such a unique game to have in the collection. And it is Warpath Jurassic Park. And it has really cool cover art and actually disc art too. But what makes this game unique is it's actually a one-on-one fighting game with the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. And it looks like there's some size differences, like the raptor's way too big just so we can fight against the T-Rex. But it might be kind of like Primal Rage, that old Mortal Kombat clone where you had prehistoric dinosaurs and like apes fighting each other and stuff. So maybe it'll have some of that, which is kind of classic for me. So looking forward to trying that out. And then speaking of one-on-one fighters, this is one I've actually wanted for a long time because I had it on Nintendo 64 and it was a decent port, but the sound was just, the music was horrible sounding. So this one I know has some loading when you're switching characters with one of the characters in the game. So that's a negative to it, but I'm sure the sound and graphics are still good otherwise. And that is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Exclusive PlayStation Edition, it says. And this is in good shape. I'm very glad to have that one added to the collection. And then this is a game that has a long box variant and the small jewel case one, and I got the small jewel case one. And I've seen this. This needs a little cleaning. Looks like the I don't know, the case has some marks on it. And I just noticed it has white artwork in the background that is official. But anyway, the game is called Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels. And I don't know too much about it. It always looks kind of neat. I don't know if it's like a first person... I don't think it's a shooter, but I don't know. From what I've seen, I haven't actually watched any videos. I've only looked at pictures, and it seems really cool. But like I said, there's a long box version too, and I got the jewel case, which I tend to like getting the jewel cases first, and then hunting down the long box variations down the line. And then the last game I'm going to show before I go into PlayStation favorites is the third game in a series that I actually really like on the PS1. And this one's sealed actually, but it's not really worth any more money sealed, so he just gave me a decent value for it. And it is Colony Wars 3 Red Sun. And I really like the Colony Wars 1, and I played the demo of 2. Never played this one, so I'm sure what's cool, since it's the third game in the franchise, I'm hoping that they learn more tricks with the PlayStation hardware and stuff, so the graphics will be improved and everything. So really, again, I apologize for the lights flickering in here, but just trying to get this video recorded, and then I'll figure out that issue down the line. But anyway, let's take a break. I'll talk about a couple more PlayStation favorites, and then when we get back, I'll show you the rest of what I got. Okay, I got 2 PlayStation favorites I want to talk about this episode. I'm going to start with one that's a little lesser known, and that is Disruptor for the PlayStation. So, this is in need of a new box. It's cracked, it's got stickers all over it, although it is kind of cool because it says best first-person shooter on the sticker here. So, this sticker was from this game's original case, which is kind of cool. But this game is really cool because it's a first-person shooter in the Doom style, although it has fully 3D backgrounds and everything. And what's cool about this game is it's made by Insomniac Studios. And they, if you don't know, have done the Ratchet and Clank games and Resistance on PS3, the Resistance series. And what's kind of cool is this kind of is like their first attempt at the shooter genre, and then they came back to do Resistance. My dog's barking. Do Resistance years later. They like tapped back into the first-person genre, and this game is very different than Resistance, though. Like I said, it's more of like a Doom style one, but it had some really cool enemy designs at the time. Like you got a lot of robots, and I don't know, it's a lot of sci-fi setting and everything, and really neat game. I feel like this flies under the radar, but it's a very, very solid first-person shooter. You have sprite-based enemies. I'm pretty sure all the enemies are sprites. There might be some bigger boss ones, but really cool game. I never finished it all the way through, but it has a great balance of difficulty and challenge, and there's a little bit of puzzle, but not a lot throughout the level design and everything. But it's just a really neat game, and one of the things I really liked about it are the weapons. There's like, again, sci-fi is the nature of this game, so you have a lot of cool like lasers and pulse blasts and everything. And I think at the time it just felt very fresh because it didn't feel like the sci-fi of like Quake 2, although this was probably before Quake 2 in the timeline of when it came out. So it just really felt fresh. Had a lot of that, the strengths of the Doom style shooter genre, but I feel like it was a little more varied with its level design. It didn't look as repetitive throughout and everything. So really did a lot of cool things, and I think it just kind of flew under the radar. It had good reviews, I remember, back in the day, but I don't really hear anybody talking about it anymore. And I could be misremembering this, but I think either they wanted to name their company Resistance instead of Insomniac originally, or this game as Resistance. I can't remember, but there was some history of the word Resistance that eventually made it into this first-person shooter series they make after this. But I think this is a neat game, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it because, like I said, flies under the radar, but it's definitely worth your time if you like first-person shooters, especially the older style ones, which I've noticed there's quite a few on PS1. It doesn't really get thought of as a first-person shooter system, but there's some pretty decent ones, and I've talked about at least 3 or 4 of them, so definitely check out the ones I recommended and see if you like them for yourself. Okay, so this last game I'm going to talk about this episode is a seemingly unrelated game to a franchise that I've played since the Sega Genesis era, so you may have heard of that series. It is by Electronic Arts. Maybe you've heard of them, but there's the Strike games. Started with Desert Strike, then there was Jungle Strike, then Urban Strike was the end of the 16-bit era ones, and then they had Soviet and Nuclear Strike, both on PS1, also on Saturn, I believe. And then that was the last Strike game, at least in the Strike series. There's games with Strike in the title, but that was the last from Electronic Arts. But actually, there was one more game, and instead of being a helicopter and a couple other vehicle-based isometric game, this one you wouldn't know is from the same series up at first glance, but it really is kind of like a spiritual sequel, and it is called Future Cop LAPD. And what's cool about this game is it's similar in that isometric, although you can kind of change the camera angle to a behind your mech angle, but it plays very similar to that. There's mission objectives besides just killing everybody on the screen, which was kind of one of the cool things about the Strike series, is there was a little bit of strategy in taking out enemy encampments, picking up rescuing basically hostages and stuff with like your ladder and everything. And this has a good mix of gameplay, although this time you are a, like it says, future cop, so has missions based around that kind of stuff. But it really has a lot of the same strengths of the Strike series, and you can definitely tell those were the roots of this. And I actually think this plays a little better than the two Strike games that are on PS1. Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike are very hard games, and this, I think, struck a nice balance where there's a challenge, but it's a little more manageable. So really cool. And the graphics are, they're very PS1, but they're very solid. I mean, they pull off the urban setting really well. It feels like you are in a futuristic, maybe not fully Blade Runner-esque cyberpunk, but definitely a futuristic, maybe a little more sci-fi setting. But it still keeps the realism, at least from what I've played. I did not finish this game. Don't think it goes into the alien or supernatural or anything like that, but from what I played, it seemed really cool. Tight controls, and just a nice way to see a series that I grew up on and loved, and I know other people played growing up. It's kind of live on, and I'd like to see that series come back in some capacity. Maybe Electronic Arts will reach into the reservoir of old franchises they had, but I think this one definitely flies under the radar, but is a really fun game, definitely worth checking out, and I don't think it's too pricey either, so keep an eye out for it if you're looking to get some cool PS1 games. Okay, so for the last of the games that I got this week, I had to work a couple weekends back down in Binghamton, New York, and if you recall, Binghamton is where Sound Go Round, my awesome favorite video game store in the southern tier, was located. So I obviously had to check that place out again. But there was another game store down there that I didn't get a chance to go to last time, and it's called Robot City Games. And what's really cool about this store is they have an arcade, and it's really nice. Lots of cool machines from different eras, from really old to some of the more modern arcade machines before arcades died. But really cool store, and they just moved, and I actually really like their new layout. And they seem to get a little bit more inventory in too, so it was a lot better than the last time I went there. So they had a buy 3 get 1 free sale, and I picked up a game from my friend Adam, which he'll probably talk about in the game groups and stuff, that he was really looking for. It was kind of a holy grail for him for the Genesis, and so I picked that up for him, and then got a couple cheapy games for PS1 to take advantage of the PS1 sale, and I got one of these for free. So the first one I got is a very, very graphically impressive game. I really think it looks awesome for the PS1. It's actually one of the few games for the PS1 that goes for a realistic graphical style, but looks pretty good too. But the controls, and I don't know, I'm going to give it another chance. I think I actually might like this now, going into it, knowing that it's kind of a bad game. I might be able to ignore some of the control issues and stuff that I encountered even when I did check it out. And that is Batman and Robin, based off of the absolutely dreadful but hilarious Batman movie. And like I said, the graphics are just absolutely phenomenal. Cool disc art with the same logo from the movie on it. And then, yeah, you can't really tell from here, but the graphics, they're just really digitized. They remind me of like the way the digitized characters in Mortal Kombat look, where they're like, hey, they're actual people digitized into the game. It has that look, except the characters are polygonal 3D models. So they just did a really good job with the textures, I think, and stuff to make it look very realistic. So glad to have that one. And then this one I've been looking for a while, based off of a TV show that I have pretty good memories of, and I always wanted to try out the game for it, and that is Reboot, which was a cool series, early CG And one thing about that show that was interesting is it kind of took a dark turn early on. So it set up as this kind of lighthearted show, and then it went really dark at one point. But I remember really enjoying the show, so always wanted to try this game. Might not be the best, but still wanted to try it out. And then the last game from Robot City Games is a long box game. This one I actually got for free. With the buy 3 get 1 free, and it's one I actually really wanted to play for a long time, because ever since I saw pictures of it in a magazine I was like, this looks really cool. It reminds me of like Virtual On, and that is Cyber Sled, and it's got these cyber sleds, I guess, that do one-on-one combat, so pretty cool. I definitely wanted to get that while I was there. Okay, so the final stack from this week is the stuff I got from Sound Go Round. And the first game I got, I was very happy to find. I already have a base copy of it in the collection, but I'll show you the version I got. It is Namco Museum Volume 1 with the big letter N. So now I have 2 of the 5 lettered versions of this series. So very happy to find that. And then I must have been in a Batman mood this weekend, because I got another Batman game, and it is Batman Gotham City Racer, this time based off of the animated series, which I absolutely love. I checked it out for a little bit, and it had pretty cool graphics and stuff, but boy, the controls were sloppy, and I feel like that's probably what ruined this game. But I'll give it another chance, put a little more time into it, and definitely glad to add another Batman game, and a game I didn't have for the PS1. Now this game is an early PS1 game, and I'm pretty sure this is the first in the series, so this is pre-Resident Evil, and I got one of the other games in the series an episode or 2 ago, and that is Alone in the Dark, One-Eyed Jack's Revenge. And they had this at our local Voltage, and I almost got it, but I found this way undervalued at Soundground. I think $20 less than it goes for, so I was like, yeah. So, pretty cool to add that one. And then this is a fighter I've always wanted to try. I don't really know how it stacks up to the 2D versions of the games, but there's 2 of them on PS1, and I got the first one, and this one was underpriced too, so I was very happy to find it. And that is Street Fighter X Plus Alpha. So Street Fighter Gun 3D before Street Fighter 4 or anything like that. And I think this has a fan base, even though it's not as good as the 2D games. I think there are people who like this series, and I've never played it, so always wanted to. Very happy to have that there. And then the last pickup is not a game, but it's a very cool PS1 edition related to a game I got a couple episodes ago, and actually got it at Sound Go Round, so it was kind of coming full circle with this. So behind the counter I saw a stack of boxes. Assumed they were empty, but still wanted to ask about them because a couple of them look pretty cool. And they did say, yes, these boxes are going to be set aside for when we get disc onlys and stuff, or card onlys. We can combine them and have the complete game. So they said the stuff wasn't for sale, and I said, well, what about that book that's fallen? Because there was this book kind of fallen, and I could tell the cover was kind of curved, but I saw a specific logo on it that made me know it was going to be something cool. Sure enough, he pulled it out, scanned it, and it was $6. So for $6, I got the official Lunar Silver Star Story Complete guide. Now they have one for Lunar 2 that I'm going to want to hunt down, but it's full color, it's really awesome, and you can see this little bit how these curve this way. That's really all that was wrong with it. Once I got it out, I'm going to probably flatten it under some heavy books, so glad to have that. And what's cool about this is it has memory card stickers still in there untouched, so it's pretty much in mint condition once I get that curve out of there by flattening it down. So very cool to get this, especially after getting the actual game at Soundground, which was pretty cool. So I guess it's that time where I add up the total and see where I'm at so far, so stay tuned. Okay, so the magic number for this week is 445 PS1 games, so almost at 450, and I actually do have a few more games here that I'm not ready to show off yet because I got to go through and I got to actually pay off some debts for some of these, so I'm definitely going to be crossing that threshold very, very soon. So that was the pickups for this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. I'm very happy with these editions this week, and I once again want to thank everybody for watching, and implore you to subscribe if you haven't yet, because I definitely want you to be able to get the videos as soon as they're online. And of course I'll be posting them on the Facebook page, and if you haven't liked the Facebook page as well, definitely look up Sprite Lovers on Facebook. I don't have a separate PlayStation Pursuit page, but I do post all the episodes on there as well, so would appreciate the like, and thanks again everybody for the support throughout all of the fun collecting I've been doing for this. So until next time, take care, and I will see you on the next PlayStation Pursuit.